Okay.
As long as we're good.
Okay, we're good. Everyone says
we're good.
Fitting
that
now.
we have tech issues when I'm not on the other side. But
yeah, see, exactly.
we're
When
working it
Todd's
out.
not running the camera, everything goes haywire. So, yeah, I just wanted to introduce Todd Cribari. He does all of our tech. We plucked him from Hollywood, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years, 8 years ago. And said, we need help. We need someone to film our events. We need someone to do the music, to set the tone, to create the environment for the attendees. And he jumped in and, he's been working with us ever since. So it wasn't his background. I think he did I wanted you to share a little bit about where you came from and how you learned to do what you do. But it's great. He's really, really dialed in this whole virtual process. It wasn't really anything that we were expecting or did on a daily and weekly basis. So we've had to, it's been a learning curve, and I think that's why we wanted to be able to share with you some of the things that we've learned over the course of the last 6 months, right? And I think week 1 of the shutdown, Todd was at our house dialing in our computer setup so that Bo could just go live every week. And now, of course, we've got a much bigger setup in the office. We've got 3 different setups that we do. And I want to share a little bit about what the experience was doing a live 3-day event virtually. So, Todd, if you can just tell him a little bit about your background and where you come from and how you're so good at this.
So I am a film school graduate here in Los Angeles, and I was working in film production, mainly commercials and music videos. I found an interest in music videos because I was young and exciting, and I had some actual friends in that business that could get me work as a production assistant. So I was doing that, and then after working a bunch of jobs, I wanted to shoot my own projects. So I would just seek out opportunity, new artists or jobs that I would hear about, and I would submit and obviously work really hard to get the job because they didn't know who I was, but I didn't have any of the equipment. I'd either have to rent, and eventually I started investing in equipment to enhance my skills. So that's film production's my background. The live event space occurred when you told me, hey, this is what we do, and you're looking for someone to work with. And I said, well, I can do that. I can apply what I know, but it's going to be a little bit different because I come from a creative background, and in Hollywood and the industry of music videos, everything has to look pretty, everything's got to be flashy, and so I was trying to add that element to a speaker space that's kind of pretty monotone, pretty basic. But some of it didn't fly, and some of it you guys liked, and we've kind of grown together. And as you've grown and needed different aspects of your business to expand, I've had to refine my skills and brush up and practice and be ready, because in this space, when it's go time and there's a date set and it's on, you got to be ready.
Yeah, I think being live is, you really kind of look at the those network shows, those morning shows. It's like when you're live, and I think I don't know, there's something about being in person live on a stage that you can still jump in, you can still save it, even if there's some technical difficulties. But when there's issues with camera, it's like there's that countdown, and then you're on.
Sure. We are so used to resetting or doing a second take or like shooting it, looking at it, and then making an adjustment. But in the live situation, it was like go, 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 and then I'm like, I remember the first few events we did. Dawn's like, no, you got to go do this. You got to be there. No, we can't do it like that. And I just, I was kind of in the washing machine figuring it out and adapting my skill set. But I have to admit, it was exciting, it was new, and it was great to work with you. And of course, Bo sets a whole nother standard and expectation for what he's trying to accomplish. So that to be around the mindset and to be exposed to a different way of pursuing my career was very helpful for me personally, and it's helped my business greatly. So,
yeah, good. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about the 3-day event? And I wanted to, you guys, of course, can put your questions in the chat. We have a few images we can share to actually see the setup. But Todd, can you talk a little bit about the software that, we had some issues our first couple goes at it. And I just have to say one thing that's been, I think, really helped us progress is we started out with the Facebook Lives every week, and we slowly tweaked those and dialed them in. Then we did a one-day virtual event. So once we were able to do that one day, we knew that we could do 3 days. And we learned things from the one day that we then applied to the 3 day. So it was nice to kind of just have that slow ramp up as we learned and adapted to this new virtual space.
Yeah.
And one of the things I remember is just sharing, the slide deck, and Zoom isn't compatible with everything, and there's different software. So can you talk about the software, one that we've used here on our Facebook Lives every week, and then what you've used for the longer format events?
Sure. Well, it started when Bo decides to write a book. And remember that? And the publisher was talking about the campaigning and the marketing and the publicity for that book. So we had to do all these live streams, and we were like, okay, Facebook Live, we can do that. And we started, it was a slow progression. So we started with that.
That helped us a lot. I think the book really helped us.
So we had a few runs at that, and even that was tough at first, but we get through that, and then we decided to take it into other areas of the business. And then we get hit with this craziness, where we have to adapt like immediately. And in that process, we actually experimented with a bunch of different software and hardware to figure out what was going to work, because people can tell you, but until you're actually using it and see how it applies and the application to your own business, you can't say 100% sure. And I like to be sure. So we tested different things. And the other thing is I'm doing the work for you guys, in a sense, teching, where some people are trying to tech and do it themselves, be on camera themselves. So if you were going to do it that way, it would be a little bit different. So when we had to get you set up, we had to change up what you were doing versus what I do.
Yeah.
So one thing I found was what we're using here is a software. It's actually a web browser. It's not even a software program. You access it through the internet. It's called Be Live TV. And the reason why we use it is because I felt like it was the most user-friendly for Bo and yourself to be able to take your computer anywhere, log onto the internet, and use a browser that has the interface all set up in an easy way right in front of you.
Yeah, you guys can see the logo in the corner, so Be Live lets you do that.
Yeah, you have all these features as a software program would have, but the software, anytime you're using software, you could have glitches, you could have incompatibility with your computer. There's so many things that could go wrong, and they're usually a little bit more complicated. So I felt like this was the go-to for you guys. But when I do the live events, streams, I don't use Be Live. We've tried Wirecast, we've tried Ecamm, and what I realized from doing that was that when everyone's on Zoom and we're using Zoom, I couldn't figure out why they weren't working so well together, and I came to realize through the process that it's not made to work with each other. Zoom is a standalone company and program that they're not really making themselves work well with other software. They want to kind of control everything. So if you're doing Facebook Lives or YouTube or Twitch or live software programs that you use for that work great. They're
more compatible.
That's what they're made for. But with Zoom, I found that the hardware, just hooking everything up to work and stream directly to Zoom, was the most functional for me. If you're using a single camera, you need a cam link. It's a USB plug that converts your camera. And we'll put all this information.
We'll create a one-pager that gives you a lot of the details. Yeah.
So if you're using a webcam, you can just plug right in and go. Obviously, you've all been doing that with Zoom. But if you want to step up your production level, you have to use a better camera. And better cameras are not streaming devices, so you have to convert the signal to work with your computer. And there's a cam link, plugs your computer cable right into your computer, and then the software can read it. If you want multiple cameras, which we've done, which we're using now, the ability to use 2 cameras,
with a switcher, right?
They're streaming devices, and I I like Blackmagic. That's the company. They've been around for years, and they're huge in the live event space, and they also have streaming devices. So you check out Blackmagic, and you get the Web Presenter, was their original product, which allows you to have 2 camera inputs that you can switch between with a manual button. And then they've created a new product called a 810 Mini and a Pro ISO, which is a switcher deck that has 4 inputs. So you can run multiple cameras, you can run a PowerPoint or a keynote, you can run, I wrote, my last event, I did a smart board and another speaker computer.
So they were writing on.
Yeah, they were
why I love
writing on the
that.
smart
Yeah,
board,
that's great.
and then I would cut, the signal ran into my switcher, and I would cut to the switcher or the smart board, and you could see what they were writing. So there's a lot of applications with that.
When it gets really complicated like that, who do you recommend some of our A-listers go to for support like you? Like, where do they find someone like you? Like, not necessarily that's at your level as far as experience and being into this, but do they go to local colleges? Do they go to wedding photographers? Like, who would be the best person for them to reach out to kind of manage some of that? You can't do like a 4-camera switch with a smart board by yourself. I mean, I know one person who can, Mel Abraham. But but he's genius at that stuff.
I'm not really, I'm not the expert on telling them where to go other than work with me and I'll make it happen for you. But in terms of searching, you work with your inner circle. Ask friends or family, or put it out on Facebook, or put it out on your website bulletin. You can check colleges or any media school nearby, or I'm sure people even put out ads on Craigslist and other areas. Elance. All those job sites, you'll find multimedia people in your area.
Right.
But that's no guarantee, right? That what we've realized, even with all the tech, it's all people business. And if there's not dynamic, if there's not compatibility in that sense, there's not chemistry, it can be difficult working with people you don't know, and do they work at your standard? And you'll have to feel that out when you find someone new.
One of the A-listers says this is a bit more advanced. Can we kind of simplify, or can we talk through some simple steps to get them started, to have them their Zooms look better, to have their lives look better?
Sure.
What would be like 3 things that you would get right away?
When you talk this into my mind with all this, my brain starts firing off on all the things
you've learned
that I've learned and that I can do, and I want to give you the most, but I have to reverse myself and realize, like, some of the basic stuff that you have to know are
good lighting for sure.
Yeah, you're like, right now, this looks good because we're looking eye level at the camera. Most everybody is putting their camera on the desk and they're shooting it up in their face, under their chin. They're leaning over.
I've seen that a lot.
They're not concentrating on proper lighting, which is going to not only light you but light the set. It needs to be balanced. If your background's super bright, then your camera is going to want to adjust for that and make you dark. So I always adjust camera for skin tone first, and then I can always adjust the lighting in the scene.
And then one tip I have, so when we were doing these at home, what Todd's talking about, the angle. So what you can do is you can just stack up a bunch of books, like those big coffee table books, and you put your laptop on the books. And then we had a ring light. You just order them on Amazon. And then Lindsay was so great. Lindsay Utter, who is our mastermind program advisor, she found these great metal stands, and you can actually stack up 2 metal stands, and the laptop goes on top of the stands for a better angle for your camera.
Right.
But I think, and the one thing too, you guys always, and people, maybe they just don't realize this, you don't want to be backlit, so you don't want a window behind you. You want the window in front of you. So if you don't have a ring light, stack some books up, get that really nice light from the windows on your face. And the other big tip I have is, make sure if you're doing this, you can do a couple tests. There's test rooms. You can have a friend jump in and make sure you look good. They can hear you before you go live. And if you have somebody that's with you, whether it's your kid or someone else, like your assistant, have somebody in the room with you on another computer in another room, making sure that they can hear and see you, like we did today. and then be on a tech stream with them. So we're able to go back and forth. The only reason I knew that when we first started you couldn't hear us is because I'm on a tech stream with my team watching from other devices to make sure that we look good, we sound good.
Yeah, and every time we've done anything, the day before, you want to do a full tech run of exactly the setup you're going to use. Do not wait the day of. Do not assume everything's working. Anything can happen at any time. We've had every element in the chain from the internet to the computer to the camera
Zoom,
to the light. At some point, we've had an issue with everything that we've had to iron out. So always do a tech run. Always.
Or a few. I think for the 3-day live event, we did like 5 tech runs or something.
Yeah, and that was because had so much complexity that we had a team of 5 or 10, close to 10 actually, working on the whole project. So,
and right here I have my phone just because my team's on monitoring the questions, so they'll be able to send them to me, even though we can kind of see a few of them here. But it just helps when you're on camera to have somebody sifting through, finding really great questions that we can ask that pertain to everybody watching. So I can even just look. Let's see. Let me get back. I have a few more. Can you tell me about just from what we've done? With the different angles. So you had 2 cameras, and you switched back and forth. Which the first time we did that was a little tricky because Bo kept saying, which camera do I look at? Which camera do you have me on, Todd? So we kind of had to figure that out. And I think on like those morning shows, they actually have flashing lights on the news and they know which camera to look at.
It's a tally light.
That's our next purchase, is a tally light.
Well, we were trying to, and like all people, you're so used to your live event experience, and the whole challenge is then adapting that to a virtual event and trying to maintain some of the same elements of that event. Yeah. So I was trying to take what we do in a normal event and make it look similar in the way I would do the switch, as we've done on many productions we've done, or blogs, or event personal story power, and our masterminds, and are the best of group. So I was trying to do that. That's why I found the switcher, a hardware switcher, to be the easiest, because I can feel it. I know everything's working. I can touch all the buttons. It's not like this just software that at any moment you haven't clicked every button and flipped every setting. And I
think one thing we did just to simplify it, because when we first started, it was just Bo and then Todd and I in the office. So even though we had 2 cameras, Todd had the switcher, and I think you had the wide shot that you were running, and then the close-up shot was just locked off. It didn't move. Bo had his mark. That way, one person can run 2 cameras and the switcher.
Yeah, you have to have, if you want moving camera, you have to have a camera operator, clearly. So we one thing we did come up with, which is, because it's on a smaller format for a computer screen or a phone, we knew that our wide shot was really more of a medium shot, and our medium was the close-up, because we wanted people to really feel a personal connection. So just know that when you are doing if you're too far away and you're too small in the frame, people might not really be getting any of the experience that you had hoped, and the connection that you had hoped. So that's something to be conscious of.
To the questions.
So we're checking out here.
We've got lots of questions here.
The questions on there. I know it's super complex. You could always also reach out to us.
Here's a great. It says, Todd, what do you? I know these will be great because you'll be able to answer these. So, Todd, what do you recommend to improve my MacBook Pro camera?
The camera itself, you have to work with what's in your computer. I've told them all the time.
I've asked this question a million times.
Cameras are made up of a sensor and then the glass. And when you use a computer screen, your lens is like this little piece of plastic. Inside there will be distortion. The quality will vary based on which model computer you have. So the best way to do it is to bypass it and update your camera and buy something external. We recently got a Canon M50 for Don and Bo, which is about a $500 camera that you can stream with. You can do blogs with. It has a flip screen. There's also, every brand from Panasonic to Sony and Canon, they have their blogging camera that's somewhat affordable. So that's what I recommend. I personally think just only use the computer camera for convenience, because it is easy. You can put it anywhere. You can go anywhere,
live anytime.
just like your phone. But if you're really trying to up your production level, you've got to go get around that and upgrade.
And you told them the one that we just got.
Yeah, I told them that the one that we got for you. And again, we can put some equipment recommendations in the chat or later on.
And then a mic. Like right now, we're mic'd. But then Todd actually recently bought this mic, which I don't even know if it'll pull over here.
It's not going to pull. It'll pull, but it's a boom mic
just for
quick access.
So that if Todd isn't available, I did it last week. I think I was like, hey guys, I'm on tech. I was able to turn the camera on, make sure Todd has it so that we could walk in and just those power strips, I can just flip on all the power strips and we're good. So I really wanted to make sure that Bo was able to jump into the office, to do trainings, to do lives, and not have it be a whole production, which it was for a while because we were learning all of this. But now we have a great setup, and Todd's kind of dialed it in, and I hit the power strips, and we're good to go. So that's really great.
So it says we have a ring light. Any suggestions for the setting on the equipment? So
for recording and sound.
Yeah. So you have to understand a ring light, and I've seen a lot of people use it in the wrong way. In fact, we're not actually using it exactly the way it should be. But the ring light is a ring because the camera's supposed to go through it. The idea comes from, it comes from music video world, where they wanted that glamour light. They wanted the circles in the artist's eyes. That's very flattering. So that's the idea of a ring light. So, but one thing I can tell you is that people buy a light and they turn everything all the way up and they go with it. But we found that it's too bright. You're gonna have a lot of shine. You're gonna be blown out. So you want to turn the light down to a soft, pretty look for your skin, and then open up the settings in the camera to find the exposure that you want. I think it'll be a lot more pleasing and more cinematic style than just blasted in your face and overexposed.
And then I have a. And then what about? Did you already say about recording the sound? Like how do you capture the best recording and the audio?
Yeah. So
right now you're recording through another software, right?
Yeah. So when you're normally running your cameras, you're obviously you can record to an SD card or into the hard drive of the camera. But when you're sending the signal out of the camera to a Stream Deck, you now can't record on the camera. And if you do, a DSLR will stop recording in 15 minutes. The newer ones will go a half hour and then they're going to turn off.
Crazy.
You have to have a camcorder or a designated webcam that'll not turn off on you in a run. So I found that you can use QuickTime on your computer, or OBS is a software, or other software programs that you can actually record the stream signal into the actual computer separately, which will get a higher quality, because if you've all seen the quality that Zoom will get you or Facebook Live, they compress it down and it's just really, really grainy and really not what we're used to looking at. So we use an external software to record and use better mics as well.
I have a question here too from Rich. He says, how, in addition to Bo, it'd be funny if it was just Bo, how many folks does it take to produce a live show? A lot. So I like to have a lot of team members and have them really focused in on one or two roles. And I think that creates like a nice flow. Everyone knows their position, they're on it, they're not being distracted doing other things. So gosh, I don't know if we had maybe at least 12 to produce the 3-day virtual event. And one of the things that we learned, which I thought was really helpful, and I don't know that any of us thought of this on our own, we had someone that hosted the Zoom as a Boeson team member. We didn't host the Zoom in office. So normally we host all our Zooms. This was just in case we had something shut down here, a power outage, the internet went off, the main Zoom host could say, hey, Team Eason is working to get back up. You can stay here on chat. We're going to take a 15-minute break. So the meeting was still actively running, even if something happened with the cameras or the internet that we were streaming through. So that was really, really helpful. And then our team members weren't necessarily in the office. They were all virtual. I think Colleen, you guys saw, she was in office. We put her in a different room. She had her own lighting. She had her own camera. She had her own mic. And Todd was able to go to her every time she had an announcement. So that really helped.
Yeah.
We had 2 camera guys and then all of our other team members kind of hosting and chatting and engaging. So
yeah,
quite a few people.
That's what you're talking about now is one thing that is a huge adjustment, which is in a live space, you have designated areas. Here, your audience sits there. This is the stage for Bo. And then we have a backstage where everybody can kind of run around and hide behind and do whatever.
And have conversations.
Yeah, and then you have backstage,
Yeah.
Front of house
Yeah.
where they're doing all the office work. Well, when you do a virtual, and this has happened many times with different teams, you're all in the same space. And your normal way of communicating just doesn't work. You can't talk in the room. You can't have your computers on. You can't be distracting the speaker, and you can't be normally you can't just walk up to the tech and just hey, do this or that or whatever.
Do you want to tell them how I am in those virtual settings?
Well, Don's everywhere, and we that was one of the things, one of the questions about what did we adjust. What did we learn?
The communication.
Communication was from day 1 to day 3. We found methods where we would write on cards and hand them calmly with a nice attitude.
Show
to the
what I
next
normally
person.
do.
Normally, Dawn's like holding the sign up for Bo under the camera, above the camera,
or you,
or me,
pointing at the computer,
or whispering it loudly in my ear, and Bo's like, "What are you guys doing?" It sounds like there's a major fire drill going on, because we are having technical issues at times or things to resolve, and we're trying not to show that to Bo. But
because he's performing right in front of us. Yeah.
But our stress level is rising, and what we found through debrief discussions later was that we had to find a better way to communicate that wasn't going to distract him, that wasn't going to piss each other off. So we started passing notes and being a lot more cordial to each other.
Or texting each other.
Yeah, texting. We're always on a thread, so you could text each other like what's coming up, what's next. Whatever we're gonna do, so that people have an idea of where we're going next. On a live event, you can just walk over to the person and say, "Hey, we're doing this next.
Yeah,
hey, we
changing.
changed this.
Yeah.
This is changing." But that was tough, so we got better.
Yeah, and one tip I have too, just from a content perspective, just because we see how Bo does everything. One thing you can do is say you're doing a training. Maybe you have a half day. Maybe you have a 90-minute training. Bo has notes that he'll use on the table, but if there's really some specifics that he wants to teach and he doesn't want to miss them and he doesn't want to be looking down, he has a lot of we have an easel, and he'll put the easel right off camera, and big black Sharpie he writes those 3 steps that he wants to teach, or what he wants to end with. So just know that you don't have to have this all memorized, and you don't have to be staring down and being like I am on my phone looking at questions. If your you really want to deliver a powerful speech with great content, and you want to make sure you stay on track, you go ahead and use that whiteboard and use some notes on that. And the other thing Bo is always making sure that we have is a countdown clock right at his eye level, so he knows how much time he has, and he doesn't have to just be like, do I have 15 more minutes? He can just see that go down. So that's another really good I think tips for you guys as trainers and coaches and speakers, that make sure you know the time, how much you have, make sure you have a spot to put your content that's just slightly off camera, so you're not looking all over the place.
So here's a question from Ian about how much space is your current setup?
Can we show that? Can we show the picture too?
Yeah, we'll go through these pictures, but this room here is 10 feet wide. We have about 15 feet of working space. You don't need much room, and that's the thing. Everything needs to be closer anyway for the experience. He says, how many filming areas do you have? There's probably 2 or 3 in here, and then the house has a couple locations. So depending on what Dawn wants to do to mix it up or what it is, you want sort of your setting to kind of go along with what it is you're talking about or your messaging.
Yeah.
So it is important to switch it up. The other thing of being that's not important to switch up is when you want that consistent branding. Like everybody knows this is Bo's set. This is his wall. When you see that, you instantly know that's Bo Eason and that's the culture
And
wall.
actually, and we've had it for so long, but for the live event, the 3-day live event, we went ahead and added color. So, and we knew, oh, if it doesn't work, we'll just change it. But it was fun to add some color. We also hung black curtains on either sides of the chalkboard so that we wouldn't catch the window frame, and on this side we wouldn't catch the corner of the wall, and then that gave Todd a little bit more movement as far as his camera angles. But other than that, we've just, whether we're shooting a blog or a Facebook Live or a 3-day event, we're in the office. Now, could we take it to a ballroom? Yes. One idea I had maybe for the next one is to have Bo in a theater. And maybe have some scattered people on stage with him to kind of create he just misses the engagement with audience members. So I said, well, let's have a few audience members. They can be part of the shot. They can be part of the environment. So just things that we're being creative about and thinking for next time, how to enhance it, how to make it just more interesting and different than what other people are maybe out there filming. So.
Here's a quick tech question here. It says, are you running HDMI cables to every camera or wireless HDMI? Okay, hardwire everything. Do not do wireless. It looks better, it's cleaner, but it opens up so many potential problems for your internet connection, for your cameras to lose sync. So I hardwire HDMI everything. So here we have some pictures we could put up and talk about what's in the shot.
That'd be great.
That would help us give us some direction on what we're seeing. So I'm gonna pop up a picture here and hide us, and we could talk about that. So in this picture, you have 2 ghost computers that are logged into the Zoom account, and I can display 49 people on each screen so that when Bo is giving his talks, he can see the attendees and he can see what interaction with the people he's talking to. Now, a lot of people think that's a tricky device or whatever. There isn't a device that allows you to have hundreds of people on a screen. Zoom allows you to have up to 49 per account. So you have a computer
Plugged into one,
per monitor, and we independently operate these 2 screens depending on what part of the event we're doing and what he needs to see.
Do you want to show the next one?
Yeah, so let's see what the next one, what we have. We'll switch up. That's just one of the ghost computers, and that's our center camera. So we have a center shot that's on a wide.
I think we have one too with the 2 shots.
And then we have.
I'm not sure if you loaded it though.
We stacked them in the middle because we wanted the screens close to the lens so that you're not like looking off into nowhere land. If you're just looking off camera,
attendees,
it looks a little bit better if you're looking close to the lens.
And then Bo's standing on a little, I don't know if you guys see that, a comfort mat, right? And he's all taped off, so he knows where he can go. And then we have the 2 cameras stacked.
Yeah. So for mics, wireless mics to me.
Oh, yeah, and if we want to talk about the lighting too.
Yeah, the wireless mics, what do we have here? Some lights there. Okay, we'll show that. Hide that. Okay. So when it comes to your sound, I'm getting a couple questions in here about that. It's just, the best sound is going to be a lav mic closest to your mouth, so that when I turn and I move, you're not going away from the microphone. These microphones here are for podcasting and blogging, and they're best like this, talking right into them. But if I were to turn, your mouth goes away from the mic. So when you're mic'd up, you can go anywhere and do anything, and you have the freedom where the audio is not going to change on you, and that's critical.
Yeah.
So I would always recommend miking up. We do it on everything.
And then those lights, I know we talked a little bit about the ring lights, but can you just share quickly about, did you rent those? Do we own those? Are they difficult to get if you want to up your lighting?
Yeah.
And we also have we have a ring light, and then Todd recently just got something more scaled down than the kind of big event lights.
Yeah. It's, with how fast paced everything is moving and how we are, and I'm sure most of you are wanting to get on camera a lot, renting is just, it's not an option because it takes forever to get and return or whatever. I personally say invest in it. You're gonna use it. Have your setup. You don't want to break it down and set it back up and break it down, set it up. The pricing on everything these days, and it has been for years, have really come down. So it's a great investment to buy your light, buy a camera, get a good tripod, get a good mic, have the basics, and then you can decide while you're lying in bed the night before that you want to do a video the next day or the next morning. Don't wait to order or purchase something the week of, because we've had to do that where I'm looking for an adapter or a cable and I'm just hoping it's going to show up before the event starts. So I would recommend buying everything early, pre-think it, and invest.
Yeah, that's great. I know, and we had a question too about whether we're doing another virtual event. So yes, I'm getting one on the schedule. So we will be doing another virtual event, and we'll make sure we see like a few more specifics on audio, on tech, like what the mics are called, and I'm going to make sure that we get you all that information, and we'll put it here in the A-lister group, and just like a really simple setup, a few of the basics, some of the tech.
I was going to say real quick, it's super complex. That's why my brain, I'm going, I got to get it all this in. But really, we can break it down to the basic items that you need to get it started. And from there, as you get comfortable, you add on slowly. And you grow as your success grows.
Yeah, and I just, again, maybe this week, your challenge or what you're going to work on is you shoot a live or you shoot a video and you find that really nice light in your window and you stack books up and you come in nice on the shot. And you just tweak a little bit and see if it improves and how it's received out there. So that, or if you're beyond that and you're getting a camera for the first time and getting some mics, then just jump in and try it, like Todd said, and start engaging with people, because there's a whole world out there you can connect with and really make an impact. So. Yeah. Hopefully this was helpful.
Are we winding up here?
Hopefully this was helpful. And yes,
I want to keep talking. She's cutting you guys off here.
Hopefully this was helpful, and we will, I promise you, we will get to these questions. Again, my team's monitoring them. Todd will have some homework. He'll simplify it, give some products that he likes and some different equipment, and share that with you guys. So
I'm also happy to help anyone that needs it for your specific setup. Reach out to me.
Yeah, and where can they find you?
You could just, my email is todd@inspirostudio.com, INSPIRO studio.com. Reach out. We could talk about your setup, and I'll do what I can to help you. And the basics, we'll answer these questions in the chat.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Bye.